The member for Holt.
Thanks, Speaker. Speaker, I rise tonight to again raise concerns on behalf of the Victorian Taxi and Hire Car Families Group about the operations of Uber in Australia. It has been disturbing to hear that a recent Senate inquiry revealed that Uber, which is capitalised worth over $60 billion, paid just over $403,000 in tax in Australia over a 3-year period. Moreover, according to an article in the Sydney Morning Herald, 25% of each Uber transaction in Australia is routed through the Netherlands and bypasses Australia. The Australian taxi industry is playing, or currently playing, by a set of rules set by the government across the country. It pays insurance, it pays work cover, it pays taxes like the GST. These conditions do not apply to Uber. It is clear that the Taxi Cab Board and those associated with it and Taxi Hire Car Families Group believe that whilst Uber is allowed to exist in Australia, it should be playing by the same set of rules that the Victorian Taxi Cab Board is, and the taxi cab owners and those that drive the cars. The Victorian Taxi and Hire Cars Family Group has welcomed the NT's decision to ban Uber. That's consistent with a number of other countries that have done such and have banned them elsewhere. They are concerned understandably with the ACT, New South Wales and Western Australian state government's decision that have allowed Uber to become legal in those states. I understand the Victorian government, as well as other state governments, are about to make a decision on the status of Uber. The Victorian Taxi and Hire Car Families Group would like the following matters to be raised by legislators before decisions are made about Uber. First, if UberX is regulated, then they must be classified as a hire car transportation vehicle and thus comply with all hire car rules and regulations. This means owners of each vehicle paying either a $40,000 hire car licence or alternatively a $10,000 annual rental fee. UberX vehicles should also be required to install visible hire car number plates to ensure all vehicles are properly regulated. Secondly, the group also have requested that current knowledge tests be reviewed, the current knowledge test, as a matter of urgency so that drivers have more support to pass the test if they wish to be a taxi or hire car driver. UberX drivers should also be required to pass this test as well. Thirdly, it is vital, especially from a security and privacy perspective, that governments look at the Uber application, the app, to make sure that it's not taking and storing customer information. The Taxi and Hire Car Families Group is rather concerned about the Uber app and its potential to access people's private information, including politicians and public servants who use Uber and use the app, and we're not quite sure whether that information is being stored, and that does have security concerns for those that actually use this particular application. It hasn't been raised or dealt with by Uber, but it has been raised by taxi cab drivers. Fourthly, this group would like to see Uber drivers lose demerit points and be fined if they do not abide by Victorian hire car rules and regulations, as this will be the best way to properly regulate Uber and ensure Uber drivers comply with the government regulations. Is also the group's view that if UberX is made legal, they must ensure customer safety. It's a key concern. It's like not having a safety check on a jet. In most states, there are police checks on taxi drivers, there are mechanical checks, and there are cameras, screens, GPS and emergency call buttons in their taxis. If UberX is made legal, then it is vital they abide by all the hire car customer safety rules. As I've said, Speaker, basically what they want is a level playing field, and these are decisions that are being made in this field of new and emerging technologies. One area that is of some concern to me as a legislator and someone that has dealt with the Victorian Taxi and Hire Car Families Group and had representations from Uber, and some of the arguments that have been put forward, is that I think that there's a perception that they need not play by the rules, that they can pressure and force governments to abandon standards that apply to Victorian and sort of national taxi cab and hire car families and groups and people that own it. But another thing that really concerns me is the methods that are used by those associated with Uber, be it ex-political staffers or not, to influence politicians. And I say to them, listen clearly, if you continue to do this, I will drag you through this place. I will name you and I will name the tactics that are using to influence legislators. We don't get influenced by force. We don't get influenced by intimidation. That's not what happens to lobby politics.